Nearly every election we hear people say that this may be the most important election of our lifetime. We have heard that even more leading up to this election. And frankly, if you look at history, if you look at what our country is facing, if you look at what has happened over the last 3 years, you will realize that this election, November 3rd of the year 2020, is in fact the most important election of our lifetime. There's a lot that weighs in the balance in this election. There's a lot of things that have occurred over the last few years that have led up to this point. But I want to talk about a few of the main reasons that make this election so pivotal for our country's history. One of the first things I want to talk about is the Second Amendment. If you look at the Biden-Harris ticket and the proposals that they have put forth to restrict, if not completely eradicate, our Second Amendment rights, this is something that should scare any American. Anyone that knows history, that has studied history, anyone that understands the framework of our Constitution will realize that the Second Amendment was put in place to help government to keep from getting too big, frankly. It was put in place so that the citizens of the greatest country in the world could protect itself from government tyranny. A Biden-Harris ticket would restrict not only citizens from protecting themselves from a government overreach or government tyranny, but also to protect themselves from criminals. Think about if somebody's breaking into your house and they're armed, they have a weapon in their hand, they're ready to do something. What are you going to do? There are so many people across this country that rely on the Second Amendment to protect themselves, to protect their children. I have a small child. This is something that is important to me, to know that I have the ability to protect myself and my family. But if Biden and Harris are elected, that will be no more. You'll be dialing the police and waiting for somebody to show up at your house, and by that time, who knows what could happen. A Trump-Pence ticket is going to be a ticket that supports the Second Amendment rights. We've seen over the last nearly 4 years how they have fought so hard. President Trump has said, I will never, as long as I am in office, I will never remove or restrict the citizens' rights to keep and bear arms. Of course, anybody in any rural part of this country is appreciative of that. We understand the importance of that. If you look at some of these countries where their weapons have been confiscated, you're not allowed to own a weapon, you got to think about this. Criminals are going to find a way to get weapons no matter how they have to do it because they're criminals. They're not going to follow the law. Restricting our Second Amendment rights is only going to restrict the rights of those citizens who tried to abide by the law. So we're shooting ourselves in the foot, literally, by electing a president and a vice president who are going to take away our Second Amendment rights.